Good. So, another edition of Nam Academy. So, we're going to be talking today about what we call the drama triangle. So, the drama. So, this is another one of those kind of map lectures, because a lot of times you can do recovery and not progress, or things can even get worse. And a lot of times is because you're not recognizing the drama in your life. And so as long as you're not recognizing it, you're not conscious. If you're not conscious, you could be doing all the right things, but you're actually walking towards Saskatoon, even though you mean to go to Calgary, or rather Vancouver. You're trying hard, but you're getting further away from your goal. So we have to work smart and hard if we want to get the job done in this lifetime. And so, this is a lecture to give you some insight in what we call drama. What they call drama in Punjabi. I think tamasha. We'll call it tamasha. So the similar word, isn't it? Drama, tamasha. You know, it's kind of it's got similar characteristics. I assure you, every culture in the world has a word for drama, because it's actually a human characteristic. Humans, if they are actually human, can't help but do this as a function of survival. So, drama actually comes, one of the roots of drama, you guys always hear us talk about, you know, the brain, right? Your brain, you got your amygdala, kind of survival brain, and you got your frontal cortex, right? We talk a lot about that. If you haven't heard about that, there's a video for that, so go and check that out. Why is it that drama comes into our life even when we don't want it? Quite the same reason as why addiction comes into our life, or bad habits come into our life. We know smoking's bad for us, but we do it anyways. We know that going on Facebook at 10, 11, 12 p.m. or a.m. isn't great for your sleep, but we do it anyways. And whenever you have something like that that comes into your life that you can't stop, even though you know it's unhealthy, chances are it's amygdala. Chances are it's some wiring that has convinced you of the survival importance of that. So, just to review, amygdala, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 things that the amygdala or the survival mind does. Survival mind looks after breathing. This is a priority list, so most important at the top, least important at the bottom, but all things have the ability to trigger your survival mind taking over your frontal cortex. So, someone chokes you, or you just stop breathing, your brain's going to go crazy. You don't have enough water, your brain's going to go crazy looking for water. You don't have, someone's stopping you from pooing and peeing. I know that really well because I watched Lord of the Rings. You know, if anyone's watched Lord of the Rings, the very last movie, it just didn't end. And I drank like a massive pop, and I was like, okay, thank goodness, it's over. And then for like another hour, it just kept going and going and going. And by the end, I actually couldn't focus on that video at all. Urinate, urinate, urinate. That was the only thought in my mind, and clearly that wasn't that great. It taught me that. Peeing and pooing is in your survival mind. Then there's food. There's sleep. And then the very last one I'll just broadly categorize as social. You know what? We'll put another one in there. We'll just call it sex. and because that is sex/procreation. There's a drive, a survival drive for sex and procreation. So the drama, it comes, tamasha, it comes into the life of you because actually engaging with people is of survival importance. So ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ human is a social animal. ਥੱਲੇ ਬੈਠ ਜਾਓ. And so human is a social animal, and as a result we will be engaging the amygdala when we become lonely. So this is why loneliness is oftentimes, you may have heard, HALT. I like HALT B as the triggers for relapse. And just a reminder, relapse. At NAM, we don't talk about relapse to drugs and alcohol. We talk about relapse to previous patterns of being. Oh, thank you for that. We talk about relapse to previous ways you were. Previous patterns, dysfunctional patterns of being. Triggers for relapse to previous patterns, PPB. Previous patterns of being. So, this is from AA. I added in the B. Hungry. If you get hungry, you're triggering your amygdala. If you get angry, trigger your amygdala. Lonely, trigger your amygdala. You'll notice that. You want to you'll want to sort of you'll want to when you get lonely, you want to do things, right? You eat a lot of food. A lot of times food comes in when we're lonely. And then the T is tired. When you're tired, you'll notice when you're tired, you want to eat, want to cope, want to drink, want to gamble, want to do all those things. And then I put the B in because it's if I had a nickel every time someone relapsed because they were bored. They just had nothing to do. So bored also tends to do it. So you hear me often. I have a lecture. We talk about stress. It's on the YouTube. 95%, 99% of stress, toxic stress, is preventable and predictable. So if you plan your life around these things not happening, your amygdala won't take over your life as often. You won't get into relapse to dysfunctional patterns of being as often. It's pretty simple, and we like simple. So today, I'm kind of here mainly to talk about the social aspect, which is drama. But it's very important to understand when you're in drama, you are amygdala. You are tamasha chalda, tusi amygdala de vich hai gayan. So when you are in a drama role, doesn't matter if you're in the drama. At some level, your survival mind is controlling you. Survival mind is not dumb mind. Very important to understand that. Survival mind is not dumb. If I take away all your food for 3-4 days, you will become very creative. You will find a way. You'll think outside the box. You'll break the window. You'll do things to get food. You'll become very clever. Human mind is very clever. Anyone with addiction, my goodness. An addiction mind is not a dumb mind. You need money for alcohol? Oh, you'll find it. For gambling, you'll find it. You'll borrow. You'll remember all these people in your life who owe you and this and that. You'll figure it out to get the job done. So survival mind is not dumb mind, it's just different priority. Frontal cortex thinks days, weeks, months, years into the future. Survival mind, the amygdala, thinks seconds, minutes, and hours. Different predictive, different roles. Neither is dumb. I have not yet met a human who is dumb or mentally retarded. I meet people of all types. I have not yet met anyone who is actually mentally deficient unless they have a genetic condition. So everyone has this intelligence. If you're acting mostly in the survival mind, then you will struggle to function in a long-term thinking society. So drama is a form of survival social thinking. And it comes to really three things. This is very common. It's called the Karpman triangle. So I won't say I created this, but it's a good one. I spelled that, Karpman triangle. This actually comes from drama. Drama as in television. So the Karpman triangle is, someone asked a question, okay, so how can I make my video, my movie interesting? So, you know, जो movie है, किमें interesting हो सकती है. And what they found is you need 3 roles. However you do it, if your scene has these 3 roles, it will capture the human interest. What they mean is it'll capture your survival mind. And these 3 roles are, we have an aggressor, we have a victim, because you can't have a victim, you can't have an aggressor without a victim, and then we have a rescuer. You can be the same 2 people. At NOM, we define things very broadly. Drama, by the way, is not just about people. It's about people, places, things, and ideas. You've all been very confused in your life, where you have drama in your head. You're aggressing on yourself. You're victimizing yourself, and you're rescuing yourself. It's almost like you have different parts, which you do. So the drama triangle, when these 3 things are in, it creates a I'll call it the wheel of dysfunction. So when you start having these roles, they function like a wheel, and it begins to spin. The faster it spins, the longer it spins, eventually it flies off. It's unstable. This wheel spins, and the longer it goes, the more unstable, because everyone's putting their energy in, but no one's getting energy out. Everyone's putting their energy into the center of this in a dysfunctional way, so it makes sense. It's like a bomb. You concentrate a lot of air into a tire, physically it has to blow. There's no option. And so, this is, since we're talking about bombs, it's about to blow. When it blows up, again and again and again, in any relationship, that relationship, every time it blows, it gets weaker. We all have relationships in our life, such as with family, with friends, with co-workers, with people. We all have the relationships. And we by engaging in drama, the deeper the relationship, like with family, it takes longer to break that relationship. It takes longer. But no relationship is beyond breaking. No relationship is beyond breaking, and no relationship is beyond repairing. But if you operate in the drama, you are functioning in a survival mind. You're only thinking seconds, minutes, and hours. And so you're not thinking, okay, I have to wake up with this person tomorrow, or I have to, in what's going to happen next week, next month. We're not thinking about that. We're just thinking about, he said something that bothered me, I'm going to respond. And if you're thinking long term, you'll respond in a way that diffuses it, makes it more likely to succeed, because frontal cortex is days, weeks, months, years. So if you're making any decision with the frontal cortex, it will heal. When you're making any relationship with the amygdala, it will damage. Because what relationship can be, we have a million things we can do in life. If we don't prioritize, then in the end, we're not going to be able to move forward. So we have to do something. If you're going to make your decisions based on the most important next couple of minutes, and you're not going to think about longer, then it's going to be reactive. It's going to damage. So let's go into this triangle. So what this looks like: aggressor, jira kutunala, the one who will attack. A person who attacks always needs someone to attack. And the victim, so it's never good to attack anybody. So let's say the attacker attacks, then a victim has to respond somehow. More often than not, the victim either attacks back and becomes the aggressor, so it's a victim-aggressor thing, or a third person gets involved. A very common triangle is, especially in immigrant circles, is the husband, the wife, and the mother-in-law. It's a very common one, or from a wife's perspective, the mother-in-law. So the husband's wife and the husband's mom. So then you get this sort of husband, wife, and mother. So when you have this sort of like cycle, a husband will have a loyalty to mom, will also have a loyalty to wife. So let's say the wife and the mother-in-law are not getting along. Very frequently, they pull in the husband to take on one side. Drama is usually worsened by divided loyalty. So the husband doesn't know, okay, wife's important, mom's important. More often than not, they just go, they yell at everyone, and then they go and drink and sleep. Especially if there's a lot of drama. Men oftentimes don't know how to inject themselves into or out of the relationship of other women in their lives. This is a very common sort of difficulty that chronically stresses out a male. And Stresses out the women too, because their issues don't get resolved. So, if you have anyone if you're in any of these roles, your amygdala is activated and you've started to think in just the next seconds, minutes, and hours. The thing is these roles are a fantasy. They're not real. You don't have to. You don't have to. An aggressor, a victim, and rescuer, any one of these people can stop the drama. They can stop the drama by refusing to step into that role. Someone attacks you, you can attack back, you can take it, you can seek out a third person to intervene dramatically. The third person is usually not in the line of, every social system has a chain of command, right? You know, there's a formal or an informal chain of command. There's norms that govern any system inside a family, inside a Punjabi family or Western family, it doesn't matter. There's a norm. You know, every family will have their mediator. They'll have, you know, like it's like certain uncles. Like if it's an arranged marriage, the one who brought the marriage together is the vachola. That's you know, they're oftentimes responsible for. Every system has a chain of command, informally and then formally. You know, police, judges. You know, there's usually social systems. And so the rescuer is usually outside. It's the girlfriend. It's the husband. So wherever the conflict is, it's someone outside that for whatever reason, usually boundaries and enmeshment, is just the go-to sort of solver of everyone's problems. And so the thing is that when you go outside the chain, that you know is probably ideal if you're thinking with your frontal cortex, why do societies have like, you know, judges and systems? Is because societies only exist for a long time if they have rule of law, if there's rules for conflict resolution. What are you going to do if you were in conflict? You need that to have a long-term relationship. And what is a society? It's a relationship of many people to each other inside a geographic area. So you go outside the chain, and it's really, when you go outside the chain and you engage in this, the more people that get involved, it's like, you know, you have like, I use this analogy a lot, you know, you have your fire, and then you're trying to put it out with like a tank of gasoline. Gasoline looks like it's a liquid, it looks like water, it doesn't smell like water, you know. But it looks like water. And you try to use it to put out your fire, and it just gets worse. That's what drama is. You try to put out fire with gasoline, and it makes it worse. You try to help someone who's being attacked. For example, you get someone's attacking someone else. This person automatically assumes this person's wrong or bad. Not always true. Likely, before the aggression, there's been some passive aggression. So this third person doesn't actually know what's going on. You'll notice this annoys the heck out of a lot of people. I don't give advice very often, unless it's like an acute safety thing, like, You got a gun, you're going to go shoot someone, yes, I will call the police on you. Please don't do that. There are certain, but more often than not, I will let you live your life in a mess, and when you're ready to ask for help, you'll come. I'm not going to come and call your house and tell you, hey, how you're doing, and start advising you, because the only person who knows all of the details of this conflict are these two people. That's the only person who has all the backstory and all the history and all the understanding. This person can come in and think they know. More often than not, the aggressor and the victim have an enmeshed relationship that is full of conflict, and it's never one-sided. I know we're kind of like a victim sort of honoring society, but I've found senseless, like kind of meaningless conflict is relatively uncommon. More oftentimes, it's the wheel is spinning so fast and it flies off the handle and someone punches someone. And so the principle we talk about at NAM is own your 1%. Everyone who's participating in this drama has a 1% to own. No one conflict is so pure, whether it's Russia and Ukraine, whether it's anywhere, there's deep history, and it's never simple. As much as life, media would like to tell you bad and good, doesn't exist. And if you try to live your life saying that's bad and that's good and take a side, your life will continue to spin in drama, and you will continue to work out of your amygdala, because that's what you have to do. When you're being attacked, you're going to be amygdala. When you're receiving an attack, you're going to be amygdala. Just like a lion is here, you're going to be jumping up on there, right? If you're rescuing and you really think your loved one's at risk, you're going to be amygdala. And amygdala only works for the next few seconds, minutes, and hours, and that relationship in your life is going to be with you for a lot longer than that, if it's a valuable one. We have to think about tomorrow and the week and the month and the year. And so, there is a way out of this. There is a way out of drama. And this is why at NAM we teach so much about getting out of your amygdala, recognizing when you're in your amygdala and getting out of that. Having the tools, the tapping. The people say like, what, the tapping is going to help fix my life? Like, what is this silliness? I need answers, I need advice, I need this, I need that. Actually, what you need is coaching. You have all the information to decode and de-stress your life. What you need is to get out of your amygdala so you can see instead of the one option in front of you, which is the bad one, which is going to get you in trouble, you need to see the 20 other things you could do. And there's always 20 or 100 or 1,000,000 things you could do, but you narrow right to the wrong one. You do it, and it drives your life into more stress. And so, the way out of this, anyone can detect, I encourage you to think of any relationship you have in life, and think of a time when someone attacked you. What's your first thing you wanted to do? Call a girlfriend, vent, go and drink. Rescuer is oftentimes the bottle. That's a frequent rescuer that people have. And so the thing is that relate this to yourself and you'll find it's not present in one area, it's present in a lot. And any person at any time can exit this by, draw it in red, by refusing the title and becoming a coach. An aggressor can say, hey, why do I want to hurt this person? And reflect. and think, okay, this relationship's not working. What are my options? Do some tapping, calm down. You can always go to the washroom and calm down. No one bothers you in the washroom. That gives you a good 5-10 seconds. You can calm down in the washroom. The aggressor can become a coach. The victim who's being victimized can step back and say, hey, this is all very amygdala. I don't need to get dropped into this. The rescuer can decide to become a coach. Becoming a coach allows you to stay in the system, because we have to relate. We can't just run away from every conflict in life. But adopting a different strategy of relating allows you to maintain and increase the health of that relationship. If you have the ability in the middle of all this to not blow up and instead step out, calm yourself, reset your amygdala, get good, and you can adopt a coaching perspective, well, what's a coach do? A coach and we're all about coaching at NOM, more modules on this to come, but a coach raises the awareness of the other person and increases their awareness of the choices, encourages them and empowers them to make a choice. Those are the two main functions of a coach. And what studies show is that if you just increase someone's sensory awareness of where they're at, so someone is being aggressive and you're being victimized, you step out, you say, okay, he's in his amygdala. And you ask him some questions. You say, how are you feeling right now? I'm upset. Okay. Well, like, what's happening with your heart? It's racing really fast. Okay. Yeah. Any other sensations you have? Totally unrelated to the conflict. Try it sometime. What you'll find is humans don't want to be hurt. Humans have an inborn ability to heal. Once they become aware, they inevitably perform better in every role. So for example, the coaching book that we're reading, it has an example, watch the ball. That's a silly instruction. That's like, what do you mean, watch the ball? But every tennis coach will say, watch the ball, eyes on the ball. And most people ignore that. But a better question is when that ball came in, which way was it spinning? You ask that question and you have no choice but to watch the ball very carefully. And inevitably, the tennis swing will get better. Because we're constantly optimizing our mind. All we need is awareness, and we need someone to give us a choice. And so when you're in a relationship triangle, and Sally and Bob are arguing again and have come to you as Joe, fix this, Joe. He's doing it again to me. That's an opportunity to coach that person. Coaching them about the chain of command. Coaching them about their options. Teaching them things to calm down. Doing them together, not being like, you're less than me. Look at me, how calm I am. Hey, we're both stressed. Let's both just do some tapping. Chances are, when you do some tapping, you're going to reduce the amygdala, you're going to increase awareness, and solutions will come. Someone asked the other day, how do you decode very complicated, messed up, decades-long conflict? And the answer is just like that. You start interacting, you calm yourself when you're starting to get revved up, you recognize you're in a role, you name it. Hey, wife, I'm feeling a desire to attack and say this, but I don't want to. I just don't know why I'm feeling this way. You all have this ability, but it's a very different part of your brain that you have to cultivate to do it. But you can do it. It is a choice. And you'll find pretty soon your relationships change very quickly. Because drama can't exist without one of these rules. If it's just these two people left to their own devices, without the gasoline of a third person, it'll fizzle out a lot faster than if you jump in. So, every person in the triangle, this is what at NAM we'll work with anyone. We'll work with families, we'll work with friends, we'll work with whoever, the patient. Because any one of them, if they turn into a coach, this whole thing ceases to spin. It gets calmer. There's no good guys and bad guys. And I've heard all the messy divorces and this and that. There's no good guys and bad guys. There's none of that. It's everyone owning their 1%. And everyone has their 1%. Everyone has their role to play in a dramatic relationship. If you own yours, adopt a coaching perspective, you'll find very quickly your relationships become serene. Or, if that was your only, if you're like the vent man, the person that you just, I only like this person because he just likes to listen to me and no one else listens to me like this person does, and I just, blah. And you stop listening to that person will probably stop seeing you. And your life is probably better for not having that person in your life. Chances are, a couple of years later, that person will contact you again. That's always what happens. They, for whatever reason, they get some counseling or something, and they're starting to move healthy, and they're like, what would you do? It doesn't happen immediately. That'd be very satisfying, but no one really thanks you. When you're in this and you want to remove yourself, they'll think you're weird. I'm sure some of my family thinks I have autism. Because I just don't engage in this. I just like, I ignore it. I can see the drama, and they think I'm just very awkward. But actually, I know what's going on. Is a refusal to engage. It's a coaching. And so, this lecture is really about understanding how drama is a reflection of the survival mind, the need for social interaction, and what brings drama about, and how you can get out of it. Boundaries that are enmeshed, really unhealthy, is usually drama played out for decades. It does not get better quickly. And people don't thank you for it. Your healing initially. But in the long term, it absolutely is healable. The messiest relationships can be healed. Doesn't mean you'll be together, but they can oftentimes be healed. And so the thing is that that's the primary thing we were going to talk about today. So my sincerest apologies if I misspoke. I'm going to stop this video and then we'll do our question and answer video. So if you have question and answers, please do.